On the night of June 14, a double murder took place in a room at the Bellagio Hotel in Las Vegas, destroying one of Chicago's most influential families. Patrick Rhodes inherited from his father not only the multi-million-dollar corporation Rhodes Industrial Holdings, but also an iron grip on business, the ability to think several moves ahead, and cold-blooded rationality in decision-making. At 34, he was vice president of the company, which specialized in manufacturing industrial equipment and supplied machine tools to factories across the country. After his father's death 3 years ago, his mother Camilla, a woman with a steely character who had turned the family business into a veritable empire, took over the reins. Patrick worked under her leadership, preparing to one day take the CEO's seat. Monica Harper, now Monica Rhodes, was a financial analyst at an investment firm in Chicago when she met Patrick at a charity auction 2 years ago. She was 29 years old and distinguished herself not only by her attractive appearance, but also by her sharp mind, conversational skills, and understanding of the world of big money. After their engagement, she left her job to devote herself to preparing for the wedding and her future role as the wife of the heir to the Rhodes fortune. On June 12th, a week after their lavish wedding at the family's country estate, Patrick and Monica were sitting in the first-class cabin of a plane flying from Chicago to Las Vegas. Ahead of them lay a honeymoon in the city of excitement and entertainment. Monica was leafing through a magazine, glancing at her husband from time to time. Patrick was working on his tablet, reviewing some documents. She leaned toward him. "You promised not to think about work for a whole week," she said with a slight smile. "That's what we agreed." Patrick looked up and put his tablet aside. "I'm sorry. I just wanted to tie up a few loose ends before the vacation. That's it. Work stays in Chicago." Monica took his hand. "The wedding was incredible. Your mom organized everything perfectly. I still can't believe it was real and not a dream. 200 guests, an orchestra, fireworks over the lake, flowers everywhere. I felt like I was in a fairy tale." "Camilla isn't used to doing things halfway," Patrick replied. "When she takes on a task, she does it to perfection. She wanted our wedding to be memorable for everyone." "And it was," agreed Monica. "Everyone said it was the most luxurious wedding in recent years. I saw the guests photographing every detail. My friends are still sending me messages of delight." Patrick looked at his wife. She really did look happy. In a white dress by a famous designer, with a hairstyle that took several hours to create, she was the center of attention all evening. Camilla spared no expense on her eldest son's wedding, understanding that the event had to match the status of the Rhodes family. "We'll continue the celebration in Vegas," Patrick said. "I booked the presidential suite at the Bellagio. We'll have everything you want: restaurants, shows, casinos. You can rest and relax." Monica leaned against his shoulder. "I'm so glad we're finally together. All the formalities are behind us, all the ceremonies are over, and now we can just be husband and wife, enjoy life." Patrick put his arm around her shoulders, but his gaze was pensive. He didn't answer right away, and Monica lifted her head, looking at him questioningly. "Is something wrong?" "No, everything's fine," he replied quickly. "I'm just thinking about how our lives will change. You'll become part of the company, helping me with projects. Camilla already said she wants to bring you up to speed, give you a position in the finance department." Monica smiled. "I'll be happy to work alongside you. And your mother. Camilla is an incredible woman. I admire her. She built an empire after your father's death, and I want to learn from her." The conversation turned to plans for the future, trips they were going to take, the house they wanted to buy. Patrick spoke confidently, painting a picture of a carefree life full of opportunities and comfort. Monica listened, her eyes shining with anticipation. The plane landed at Las Vegas Airport in the middle of the day. The heat greeted them with dry, hot air, but the air-conditioned limousine waiting at the exit quickly restored comfort. The driver loaded their luggage, and the car headed for the city center, to the famous Bellagio Hotel. Check-in at the hotel took a few minutes. The manager personally escorted them to the presidential suite on the top floor. Spacious rooms with panoramic windows overlooking the Las Vegas Strip, a marble bathroom with a jacuzzi, a living room with a grand piano, and a bar. Monica walked from room to room, admiring every detail. "This exceeds all my expectations," she said, walking over to the window and looking at the city below. "Patrick, are you serious? We're going to live here for a whole week." "Only the best for my wife," he replied, standing in the bedroom doorway. That evening, they had dinner at one of the hotel's restaurants. The dining room was filled with guests, and waiters bustled between tables, bringing dishes and wine. Patrick ordered a bottle of expensive champagne, and they raised their glasses to their future. "To us," said Patrick, "to our life together, to love and trust." "To us," Monica repeated, and their glasses clinked softly. They talked about trivial things, about what they had seen on the way from the airport, about the show they wanted to see tomorrow. Patrick was attentive and caring, but inside he was beginning to feel uneasy, which he carefully hid. 2 weeks ago, even before the wedding, he had noticed that Monica had become distant, often distracted by her phone and canceling their meetings several times under various pretexts. At the time, he had chalked it up to pre-wedding stress, but something told him that was not the only reason. Patrick Rhodes was a man who did not tolerate uncertainty. He made a decision that seemed logical to him at the time. Through an acquaintance, he contacted a private investigator named Raymond Quayle, a former Chicago police officer who now worked for himself and was involved in surveillance, information gathering, and other sensitive matters. Patrick hired him to follow Monica and find out if there was any cause for concern. Quayle turned out to be a professional. He didn't ask unnecessary questions, got down to work, and sent regular reports. Patrick received reports on where Monica had been, who she had met, and where she had gone. At first, there was nothing suspicious. Meetings with friends, shopping trips, visits to the beautician, the usual life of a bride before the wedding. But a few days before the ceremony, Quayle wrote that he had noticed something interesting. He didn't reveal any details, saying only that he would continue his surveillance and provide a full report later. Patrick decided not to cancel the wedding. Too much had been invested in the preparations, too many guests had been invited, and canceling would cause too much of a stir. He decided to wait for the information and act based on the facts. The wedding took place, and they went to Vegas. Patrick thought that Quayle would let him know later, but on the evening of June 13th, when he and Monica returned to their room after a walk around the casino, his phone vibrated. Monica went to the bathroom, and Patrick picked up the phone and saw a message from the detective. "I need to talk to you. This is serious information. I can fly to Vegas tomorrow morning. Shall we meet?" Patrick felt a chill run down his spine. He wrote a reply. "Okay. Tomorrow at 10 in the morning. I'll text you the address of the bar where we'll meet." Quayle sent a short confirmation, and Patrick put his phone away. Monica came out of the bathroom in a bathrobe, her hair loose. She was smiling. "Are you coming? I want to take a bath, relax after the day." "Sure, go ahead," Patrick said, trying to keep his voice calm. "I'll watch the news and join you." Monica disappeared into the bathroom, and Patrick was left alone in the living room. He sat down on the sofa and stared out the window at the lights of Las Vegas. The city was alive with nightlife, neon signs flashing, cars moving through the streets, music playing somewhere. Here, in the silence of the room, Patrick felt a growing tension. He didn't know what exactly Quayle had found out, but his intuition told him that tomorrow's conversation would change everything. Patrick was ready for the truth, whatever it might be. He had built his life on control and calculation, and even if that control turned out to be an illusion, he would find a way to regain it. Patrick hardly slept that night. Monica lay next to him, breathing evenly and calmly, while he stared at the ceiling, going over the possible scenarios in his head. What could the detective have found out? Who had Monica been meeting? Why did Quayle consider the information so serious that he was willing to fly halfway across the country to deliver it in person? Questions swarmed in his head, but there were no answers. Patrick waited for morning. The morning of June 14th began with bright sunshine flooding the room through the panoramic windows. Monica woke up around 8 o'clock and stretched, not finding her husband next to her. Patrick was already in the shower. When he came out, dressed in light-colored pants and a shirt, Monica was sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling through her phone. "Good morning," she said, looking up at him. "You're up early. I couldn't sleep anymore," Patrick replied, fastening his watch on his wrist. "I decided not to waste time. I have a meeting downstairs in the bar. An acquaintance from Chicago is in town and wants to discuss some business. Nothing serious, just a formality." Monica frowned. "You promised not to work." "It's not work," Patrick reassured her. "Just a quick chat, half an hour max. Then the whole day is yours. You can have breakfast and go to the spa. I booked you a massage and treatments for 11 o'clock. A gift from me." Monica smiled, her discontent melting away. "You spoil me." "You deserve it," Patrick said, and kissed her on the forehead. "See you after lunch." He left the room, and the elevator quickly took him downstairs. The casino bar was in the far corner of the gaming room, away from the main flow of visitors. At this time of the morning, it was almost deserted. A few people were sitting at the slot machines, but most of the tables were empty. Patrick walked to the bar and ordered a coffee. Raymond Quayle appeared 5 minutes later. He was of medium height, stocky build, with short graying hair and attentive dark eyes. He was dressed simply: jeans, a dark t-shirt, and a light jacket. Nothing that would attract attention. The perfect man for a job that required inconspicuousness. "Mr. Rhodes," he greeted him, extending his hand. "Raymond." Patrick shook his hand and pointed to a table in the corner, away from the other patrons. "Let's go there." They sat down across from each other. Quayle placed a black folder on the table and leaned back in his chair, studying Patrick with a professional eye. "Would you like a drink first, or shall we get down to business?" he asked. "Let's get down to business," Patrick replied curtly. Quayle nodded and opened the folder. He took out several photographs and laid them on the table in front of Patrick. In the first photo, Monica was leaving a restaurant in downtown Chicago, walking alongside a man. Patrick recognized him instantly: Jim Rhodes, his younger brother. They were standing close together. Jim was saying something. Monica was laughing. "This was taken on May 23rd, Quayle said. 2 weeks before your wedding. They had lunch at a restaurant on Michigan Avenue and spent about 2 hours there." Patrick took the photo, studying the details. Monica was wearing a summer dress, Jim a business suit. They looked relaxed. Too relaxed for a normal family dinner. The next photo showed them again, but in a different place. A parking lot in front of an apartment building in the evening. Monica was getting into Jim's car. "May 7th, Quayle explained. "Your fiancée spent 3 hours at his house. She left around 11 p.m. Patrick felt a cold rage growing inside him, but his face remained impassive. He simply nodded, allowing the detective to continue. Quayle laid out a few more photos. Monica and Jim in a cafe on the street, at the entrance to a movie theater. All the photos were dated on different days over the past 4 months. The meetings were regular. "I traced their routes," Quayle continued. "They met 2 or 3 times a week on average, always in different places, never in the same area twice in a row. They were careful, but not careful enough to go unnoticed." "That's not all." Quayle took the printouts of text messages out of the folder and placed them in front of Patrick. "I gained access to your brother's phone through a vulnerability in cloud storage. The technical details are irrelevant. What matters is what I found." Patrick took the first sheet and began to read. It was correspondence between Jim and Monica. The messages were frank and intimate. Monica wrote that she missed him and couldn't wait for their next meeting. Jim replied that he was thinking about her too, that the situation was complicated, but they would find a way out. "We can't go on like this. Patrick doesn't know anything, but sooner or later he'll find out," Monica wrote in one of the messages from May 1st. "I know, but I can't stop. You mean too much to me," Jim replied. This was followed by discussions about their meetings, planning the time and place. They agreed to meet after work and found excuses to justify their absence. Monica mentioned Patrick several times, saying that she felt guilty but couldn't break off the engagement because too much had already been organized. "The wedding is in 2 weeks. I don't know what to do. I can't cancel everything. Patrick's mother has spent a fortune on the preparations. All the guests have been invited, but I'm not sure I can marry him, knowing what's between you and me," she wrote on May 20th. "Monica, I understand. It's an impossible situation, but we can't go on. It's not fair to Patrick. He's my brother. I'm betraying him every day," Jim replied. "Then what should we do?" Monica asked. "I don't know, but after the wedding we have to stop. It's the only way out." Patrick slowly put the papers down on the table. His hands weren't shaking, his face remained impassive, but inside, a storm was raging. His brother, his own brother. Jim, with whom they had grown up together, worked side by side in the company, shared plans and dreams. And Monica, the woman he was going to make part of his life, the mother of his children. "How long has this been going on?" Patrick asked, his voice sounding surprisingly calm. "Judging by the correspondence, about 4 months, Quayle replied. "The first messages date back to early February. At first it was all innocent, just conversation. But by mid-March, it was clear that there was something more between them." "Were they planning to be together?" "No." The detective shook his head. "It seems that both of them understood that it was temporary. Monica didn't want to call off the wedding, and Jim was torn between his feelings for her and his loyalty to you. In their last messages, they agreed to end the relationship after the wedding. Jim wrote to her on May 28th that he couldn't live like this anymore and that they had to stop." Patrick picked up the last sheet. Jim's message was short and harsh. "Monica, this is the end. I can't betray my brother anymore. You're marrying him in a week, and I won't ruin his life. I'm sorry. Don't write or call me anymore." Monica's response was desperate. "Jim, please don't do this. We can talk. I don't want to lose you." But after that, the correspondence stopped. There were no more messages. Patrick put the sheets back in the folder and closed it. He looked at Quayle. "Thanks for your work. How much do I owe you?" Quayle named the amount, and Patrick took out his wallet, counted out the bills, and placed them on the table. "Can you leave all this with me?" he asked, pointing to the folder. "Of course, it's yours." Quayle took the money, stood up, and held out his hand. Patrick shook it. "If you need anything else, give me a call," said the detective, and headed for the exit. Patrick remained seated at the table, staring at the closed folder in front of him. Life in the casino continued as usual around him. Slot machines clanged, people laughed and talked, and the bartender mixed cocktails. And in his hands lay the evidence of betrayal by the 2 people closest to him. He felt no pain. He felt no disappointment or sadness, only cold rage and a desire to regain control. He had been deceived, used. Monica had married him not for love, but for money, status, and a place in the Rhodes family. And Jim, his brother, the man he trusted, had slept with his woman for months, knowing that the wedding was inevitable. Patrick stood up, picked up the folder, and headed for the elevators. He went up to his room. Monica wasn't there. She had gone for treatments, just as he had planned. He locked the door, walked into the living room, and sat down on the sofa. Opening the folder again, he spread the photos and printouts on the table in front of him. He studied every detail, every word. The picture was clear. 4 months of betrayal, meetings behind his back, lies. They thought they could stop after the wedding and go on as if nothing had happened. Jim was going to work with him at the company, sit at the same table at family dinners, look him in the eye, knowing he had slept with his wife. and Monica planned to share his bed, have children, build a family, while keeping this secret inside her. Patrick couldn't let that happen. He couldn't let them get away with it. He was a Rhodes, a man who controlled situations, made decisions, and took responsibility for the consequences. And now, he had to make the most important decision of his life. He took out his phone and opened his contacts. He found Jim's number and pressed call. Rings, 1, 2, 3. Finally, his brother answered. "Patrick, what's going on?" Jim's voice sounded surprised. "Jim, I need your help," Patrick said, his voice even and calm. "We have a problem. A serious problem." "What kind of problem? What are you talking about?" "I can't explain over the phone," Patrick continued. "Some people have shown up and are threatening our family, our business. They want to meet with us and say that if we don't resolve the issue, there will be consequences. Mom can't know about this. I don't want to scare her, but I need your support." There was silence on the other end of the line. Then Jim spoke, his voice sounding alarmed. "What kind of people? Who are they?" "Competitors who want to drive us out of the market," Patrick improvised. "They have connections and are prepared to take tough action. I met with their representative here in Vegas. They gave me until tomorrow to come to an agreement. I need you to fly here immediately." "Patrick, this is serious. Maybe we should call the police." "No," Patrick replied sharply. "The police will only make the situation worse. These people are not joking. We need to resolve this quietly, without unnecessary fuss. Jim, I'm asking you to fly here tonight, and take your father's gun from the safe at home, for protection just in case. These people could be dangerous." Jim was silent for a long time. Patrick could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. "Are you sure this is the right thing to do?" his brother finally asked. "I'm sure," Patrick said firmly. "Trust me, we need to act quickly. Book a ticket for the next flight and text me when you arrive. I'll meet you there. And Jim, don't tell Mom. I don't want her to worry for no reason. We'll handle this ourselves." "Okay," Jim agreed uncertainly. "I'll check the flights and buy a ticket. I should be able to fly out tonight around 7. "Great. I'll be waiting for you." Patrick hung up and leaned back on the sofa. The first step had been taken. Jim would arrive tonight with the gun. Everything else would depend on how the situation unfolded. He gathered the photos and printouts back into the folder and hid it in the safe in the closet. Then he left the room and went downstairs. He walked through the casino, went into one of the shops, and bought Monica a gift, expensive perfume. When he returned, she was already in the room, refreshed after her spa treatments, wearing a light dress. "How did the meeting go?" she asked, approaching him. "Quick and easy," Patrick replied, handing her the box of perfume. "For you." Monica smiled, opened the box, and sniffed the bottle. "It's beautiful. Thank you, dear." They spent the rest of the day together. They walked around the hotel, had lunch in a restaurant overlooking the fountains, then went to the casino and played roulette. Patrick was attentive and caring, joking, laughing, pretending that everything was fine. Monica suspected nothing. She was happy, relaxed, enjoying her honeymoon. Around 8 o'clock in the evening, they had dinner at one of the restaurants on the first floor. Monica talked about her plans for tomorrow, suggesting they go to a show or visit the Grand Canyon. Patrick nodded and agreed, but his thoughts were far away. At 8 o'clock sharp, his phone vibrated. A message from Jim. "I'm on the plane. I'll be in Vegas at 11. Text me where to meet." Patrick wrote a short reply. "Okay, meet me at the hotel." He put his phone away and continued with dinner. Monica didn't notice anything. At 8 o'clock in the evening, when they returned to their room, Patrick's phone rang again. The name on the screen was Camilla Rhodes. Mother. Patrick frowned and went out onto the balcony to answer. "Mom," he said, answering the call. "Patrick, what's going on?" Camilla's voice was cold and demanding. "Jim called me an hour ago and said he was flying to Vegas because you were having some kind of problem. What kind of problem? Why didn't you tell me?" Patrick clenched his jaw. Jim couldn't help himself and told his mother everything, despite his request. "Mom, everything's under control," he replied calmly. "It's a business matter, nothing serious. I asked Jim to help me with the negotiations. I didn't want to bother you." "Not bother you?" Camilla's voice rose. "Patrick, I run this company. If there are problems, I need to be the first to know about them. Jim said something about threats, about people demanding a meeting. What kind of nonsense is that?" "Mom, I said everything is under control," Patrick repeated, his voice now firm. "I'll handle this myself. You don't need to get involved." "Don't get involved?" Camilla almost shouted. "You're my son and you work for my company. If someone is threatening the family, I have a right to know." "Mom, I'm a grown man," Patrick said coldly. "I can handle this without your help. Jim is coming. We'll meet with these people and resolve the issue. Everything will be fine. You have nothing to worry about." Camilla was silent for a few seconds. Then her voice became harsher. "I'm flying in tomorrow morning on the first flight. We'll meet and discuss the situation together. I won't let you risk the family without my involvement." "No," Patrick replied sharply. "Don't. I can handle it. Stay in Chicago. I'll call you tomorrow and explain everything." "Patrick—" "That's it, Mom," he interrupted her. "I have to go. We'll talk later." He hung up and turned off the phone. Camille would call again, of course, but he wasn't going to answer. Right now, he needed to focus on what was going to happen in a few hours. Patrick returned to the room. Monica was watching TV, lying on the sofa. She looked up at him. "Is everything okay?" "Yes, everything's fine," Patrick said, and sat down next to her. "My mom just wanted to check in on us." Monica snuggled up to him, and they continued watching the movie. Patrick put his arm around her shoulders, but his thoughts were far away. He was thinking about Jim, who was flying here right now, about the meeting that would take place tonight, about what he would say to both of them when they stood before him. The clock was ticking. Time was moving inexorably forward, bringing closer the moment that would change everything. The evening of June 14th was coming to an end when Patrick's phone vibrated in his pocket. He was sitting in the living room. Monica was dozing in the bedroom after a long day. Patrick looked at the screen. A message from Jim. "We've landed, heading to the hotel. We'll be there in half an hour." Patrick got up and walked to the window. Below, the lights of Las Vegas twinkled, the city living its vibrant nightlife. People were walking the streets, going into casinos, laughing, drinking, gambling. Just another night in the city of excitement. None of them knew that, in one of the rooms of the luxurious hotel, a trial was taking place. Patrick wrote a short reply. "Meet me at the main entrance, I'll come down." He went into the bedroom. Monica was lying on the bed, covered with a light blanket. Patrick quietly closed the door and returned to the living room. He took a folder with photos and printouts out of the safe and placed it on the coffee table. Then he sat down on the sofa and waited. 20 minutes later, a new message arrived. "I'm at the entrance." Patrick got up, looked around the room one last time, and left. The elevator quickly took him downstairs. He walked through the hotel lobby to the main entrance. Jim was standing by a column with a small sports bag slung over his shoulder. When he saw his brother, he smiled and walked toward him. They hugged, patting each other on the back. Jim looked tired after the flight, but there was concern in his eyes. "Patrick? What's going on?" he asked, stepping back. "You scared me with that call. What people? What threats?" "Come on, I'll explain everything," Patrick replied, taking his brother by the elbow and leading him toward the elevators. "There are too many people here." They walked through the lobby. Jim looked around, trying to understand what was going on, but Patrick remained silent. At the elevators, Patrick stopped and turned to his brother. "Did you bring what I asked for?" Jim nodded and patted his bag. "Yes, here. A gun. Patrick, why do you need it? Do you really think there might be danger?" "Just in case," Patrick replied curtly. "Give it to me." Jim looked at his brother doubtfully, but unzipped the bag and took out the gun wrapped in cloth. He handed it to Patrick. Patrick unwrapped the cloth, checked the weapon, and hid it under his shirt behind his waistband. "Are those people upstairs now?" Jim asked. "Yes," Patrick nodded. "They asked for a confidential meeting. They said they wanted to discuss the terms in a calm atmosphere. I agreed. But I needed you nearby, in case something went wrong." Jim frowned. "That's strange. Why didn't they meet us somewhere else? Why did they want your number?" "They insisted," Patrick replied. "They said it was safer that way, fewer prying eyes. Don't worry, everything will be fine." The elevator arrived, and they stepped inside. Jim was silent, but Patrick could sense his tension. His brother trusted him, but the situation was too unusual not to raise questions. The elevator stopped on the top floor. They got out and walked down the hallway to Patrick's room. At the door, Patrick took out his key card and unlocked it. They went inside. The living room was lit by the soft light of a floor lamp. Music was playing quietly. Jim looked around the room, but saw no one. "Where are they?" he asked. At that moment, Monica came out of the bedroom in a white robe, her hair loose. She stopped when she saw Jim, her eyes widening in surprise. "Jim? What are you doing here?" Jim looked at his brother, then at Monica, confused. Patrick said he needed help, that there were supposed to be some people here." Patrick walked into the living room and locked the front door. The click of the lock sounded loud in the silence of the room. Jim turned at the sound. "Patrick, what's going on?" Patrick didn't answer. He walked over to the coffee table, picked up a folder, and opened it. Silently, he took out photographs and printouts of correspondence and began laying them out on the table one by one. The first photograph, the second, the third, printouts of messages. Monica came closer, looked at the table and turned pale. Her hand trembled and rose to her throat. "Patrick," she whispered. Jim also came over and looked down. He saw his photos with Monica. He saw the printouts of their correspondence. His face turned gray. "Oh my God," he exhaled. Patrick stood at the table with his arms crossed over his chest, looking at them both. His face was impassive, but his eyes burned with a cold fire. "Patrick, I can explain," Jim said quickly, taking a step forward. "It's not what you think. Yes, there was something between Monica and me, but it was a mistake. A terrible mistake. It happened by accident. We didn't plan it. It just happened." "Accidentally?" Patrick asked coldly. 4 months of accident?" Jim fell silent, not knowing what to say. Monica approached Patrick and held out her hands. "Please listen to me." Her voice trembled. "I know how it looks, but I love you. I really love you." What happened with Jim was a moment of weakness. I don't know how it started, but I swear it was over before the wedding. We stopped. I chose you. Patrick didn't move. Monica took another step, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I married you because I want to be with you, because you're the person I want to spend my life with. Please give me a chance to make it right. We can forget about this and start over. I'll do anything." Jim spoke too, his voice desperate. "Patrick, brother, it's my fault, I know that. I betrayed you and I have no excuse. But I ended it a week before your wedding. I couldn't live like that anymore. Couldn't look you in the eye knowing what was going on. I told Monica we had to stop and we did. I never wanted to hurt you. You're my brother, I love you. Forgive me." Patrick was silent. He looked at them, at these two people standing in front of him and begging for forgiveness. Monica was sobbing. Jim was looking at him with pleading eyes. But Patrick felt nothing. No sympathy, no pity, only cold determination. He took the gun from his belt and raised it. Monica saw the weapon and recoiled, her scream stuck in her throat. "Patrick, no," she whispered. "Please, Patrick, don't do this." Jim raised his hands. "We can talk this over. We can find a solution. You don't have to." "You used me," Patrick said quietly. Both of you. You, he looked at Monica, married me for money and status. You never loved me. You were just playing a role. And you, he looked at Jim, my brother, the person I trusted more than anyone else, slept with my woman, and thought he could just stop and go on living as if nothing had happened. Patrick, I made a mistake. Monica took a step forward, reaching out her hands. But I can fix it. Give me a chance to show you that I can be a good wife. We got married a week ago. We have our whole lives ahead of us. I will love you. I will bear you children. I will... The shot rang out deafeningly in the silence of the room. Monica froze for a moment, her eyes wide. Then she looked down at the red stains spreading across the white robe. Her legs buckled and she fell to her knees, then onto her side. The body twitched once and fell still. Jim screamed. He recoiled against the wall, his face contorted with horror. No! God, no! Patrick, what have you done? You killed her! You killed Monica! Patrick slowly turned to his brother. The gun in his hand did not tremble. This is crazy. Jim pressed his back against the wall, his voice breaking. Patrick, stop. Please stop. You don't understand what you're doing. This is not the answer. We can... On your knees, Patrick said quietly. Jim froze. What? On your knees, Patrick repeated, his voice hardening, and ask for forgiveness. Patrick, no. Please. On your knees, Patrick shouted. Jim slowly dropped to his knees. His hands were shaking, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm sorry, brother. It's my fault. I know it's my fault. I betrayed you, and I deserve to be punished. But don't kill me, please don't kill me. I'm your brother. We grew up together. I love you. Forgive me. Patrick looked down at him. Jim was on his knees, broken, sobbing, begging for mercy. The man who was once his best friend, his comrade, his blood, now a traitor. You're right, Patrick said. You deserve punishment. He raised the gun and fired. Jim jerked and fell on his side next to Monica. His body twitched a few times, then went still. Patrick stood in the middle of the living room, looking at the two bodies on the floor. Monica was lying on her back, her hair scattered around her head, her eyes open and staring at the ceiling. Jim was lying on his side, one arm stretched out in front of him, as if he had been trying to reach for something at the last moment. Patrick lowered the gun and slowly walked over to the sofa. He sat down, placing the weapon on the coffee table next to the photos and printouts. His hands were steady, his breathing even. He felt no remorse, only emptiness. He took out his phone and found his mother's number. He pressed call. Beeps. 1, 2, 3. Then Camilla's voice, irritated and wary. Patrick, why didn't you answer my calls? What's going on there? Patrick opened his mouth, but the words wouldn't come. He looked at the bodies, then back at the phone. Mom, he finally said, his voice trembling. Mom, What? Patrick, what happened? Tears suddenly streamed from his eyes. He squeezed his eyes shut, clutching the phone. I found out, he sobbed. I found out that Monica was sleeping with Jim. They were together, for months. They betrayed me. Camilla gasped. What? That can't be true. Patrick, where did you get that from? I hired a detective, Patrick continued through his tears. Before the wedding, he found proof, photos, correspondence. They were seeing each other behind my back. And then they just decided to stop and pretend nothing had happened. As if they could keep deceiving me. My God, whispered Camilla. Patrick, where are you now? Where are Monica and Jim? Patrick looked at the bodies. They're here, in the room. What do you mean? I killed them, Mom. His voice broke. I killed them both. I couldn't let them get away. They used me. They laughed at me. I had to stop it. There was silence on the other end of the line. A long, heavy silence. Then Camilla screamed. What have you done? Patrick, do you understand what you've done? You killed your brother. You killed your wife. I know. Patrick whispered. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do. Camilla was breathing heavily. Patrick could hear her trying to pull herself together. Then her voice became quieter, but harder. Listen to me carefully, she said. Listen to every word. I lost my husband 3 years ago. I can't lose you, too. You're my son, and I won't let you go to prison for this. Mom, I killed them, Patrick repeated. The police will find me. Shut up and listen, Camilla interrupted him. You have to leave this room immediately, right now. Take your things, anything that could connect you to the incident, and leave. Go to the airport and fly home to Chicago. To me. But the gun, the evidence. Leave the gun there, Camilla said. Let the police find it. The main thing is that you're not there when they arrive. Patrick, do you hear me? You have to leave right now. Patrick looked at the bodies, then at the gun on the table. Okay, he said quietly. Okay, Mom. I'll do as you say. Fly home, Camille repeated. We'll decide together what to do next. I'll find the best lawyers. We'll get through this. But right now, the most important thing is that you stay safe. Do you understand? Yes, Patrick replied. I understand. Then go, right now. Camilla hung up. Patrick put the phone in his pocket and slowly got up from the sofa. He looked at Monica and Jim one last time. Their bodies lay motionless, blood spreading across the light-colored carpet. Patrick went into the bedroom, grabbed his bag, and quickly gathered his things. Documents, clothes, everything that belonged to him. He returned to the living room. The gun was still on the table. He didn't touch it. Approaching the door, Patrick unlocked it and stepped out into the hallway. He quietly closed the door behind him. The hallway was empty. He headed for the elevators, trying to walk calmly without attracting attention. The elevator took him downstairs. The hotel lobby was crowded with people. Guests were checking in, leaving restaurants, heading to the casino. Patrick made his way through the crowd to the exit, no one paying any attention to him. Outside, he hailed a taxi. To the airport, he told the driver. The car pulled away, taking him away from the Bellagio Hotel. Patrick looked out the window at the lights of Las Vegas flashing behind the glass. The city continued to live. And in one of the rooms of the luxurious hotel, 2 bodies lay, and soon they would be found.